First is the identity you describe out loud, the goals you've set, the person you're trying to become, the values you say you hold. The second is deeper. It's the automatic, largely invisible set of assumptions about who you are and what's realistic for someone like you. What you believe you deserve, not in theory, but in practice, in the moments when it matters. And it's the second one that controls your results. Think about it this way. You can consciously decide you want to earn more. You can build a plan. You can start. But if at a deeper level something in you believes that people like you don't earn that kind of money, something quiet and unexamined, the plan will keep stalling. Not because you're weak, because your behaviour is unconsciously being managed by a system that hasn't been updated. This is how identity functions as a mechanism. It doesn't just shape your thoughts, it shapes your threshold, what you push for, what you accept, what you decide isn't worth the discomfort. Here's the part that matters. The hidden layer wasn't formed by logic, it was formed by experience. By the environment you grew up in, by what you watch people around you do or not do, by what was normal, expected, possible, and what clearly wasn't. It became your internal reference point, and most people carry that reference point into adulthood without ever questioning whether it's still accurate. Think about someone who genuinely wants to move into leadership. They have the skills, they have the experience, but every time a senior role appears, something holds them back. They tell themselves the timing isn't right or they're not quite ready. What's actually happening is that leadership doesn't feel like their lane, not on the surface, but somewhere underneath. The identity that was formed earlier in their career or before their career even started is running its own assessment, and it keeps returning the same verdict. Someone starts freelancing or builds an offer and gets to the point of naming a price, and they go lower than they planned, not because they don't know their worth in principle, but because charging more would require operating a version of themselves that hasn't felt real yet. The hidden identity decides what's realistic in that moment, and the number reflects it. Someone sits in a meeting and has the right answer. They can see exactly what needs to be said, but they wait. They soften it, or they don't say it at all. Not because they lack knowledge, they have it, but a deeper layer of identity is managing the situation. And that layer learned at some point that it wasn't safe or appropriate to take up that space. The cost of a hidden identity isn't always obvious. It doesn't announce itself, it just means your results stay slightly smaller than your intentions. That if you get close to a threshold and then something pulls you back. That you work hard and effort accumulates, but the ceiling stays where it is. You can keep working harder, you can refine your strategy, you can read everything there is to read about growth and momentum and building something real. But until the hidden layer updates, until what you believe at depth about yourself shifts, the other results tend to reflect the inner reference point. The goal isn't to force a new belief over the top of an old one. That rarely works. The hidden identity doesn't update through willpower. It updates through evidence, through repeated experience of a different kind of normal. Which means the question isn't only, what do I want? The more important question is, what kind of person do I already believe I am? At the level beneath my goals. At the level that decides before I consciously decide. Because that's the layer driving the results. So here's 3 steps, specific and doable. Step 1. Notice the gap between what you say you want and what you're actually doing. Not with judgment, just observation. The gap between intention and action is usually where the hidden identity is working. Step 2. When you notice yourself pulling back from something, a price, an opportunity, a conversation, ask, is this a logical decision or does this feel like it's just too much for someone like me? You're trying to catch the hidden identity mid-sentence. Step 3. Once a day, write down one thing you are already capable of that you haven't fully claimed as yours. Not a goal, a capability you have right now that the surface version of you hasn't fully integrated yet. Run this for 7 days. You're not trying to overhaul anything, you're trying to see the current reference point more clearly. That visibility is where change starts. There's something strange that happens when people start updating their identity. Even when things are shifting, when they're doing the right things, making different decisions, they still feel like the old version of themselves. And that feeling creates its own problem. That's what the next episode is about.